today I have swatches of the new Essie Silk Watercolor Collection. These are kind of Essie's answer to the OPI color paints. They are a sheer kind of watercolor-y jelly polish that can be used for nail art and for layering. There is a white in the collection that they are meant to be layered over or meant to supplement some of the nail art. From what I have heard, now I bought these off of eBay, so I bought them all at the same time, but I had to pick them individually and add them to my eBay cart. However, from what I have heard, these are going to be salon exclusive. I'm not sure if they're going to be in a set or if they're going to be available individually, but they're probably, I mean, unless what I've heard is wrong, they're not going to be available in like Target stores. They're not going to be available in Ulta's, maybe Ulta's. No, I doubt it though. They're going to be more of a like salon exclusive kind of thing. I'm sure you'll be able to find them very widely available online, but as far as in store, you probably won't be able to find them in the places that you can typically go shopping and find Essie's. So yeah, there are a bunch of polishes. I'm going to get right into the swatches. So the first polish is White Page. This is just the white that comes with the set that's used as kind of a base for the nail art. I'm not going to swatch every polish over the white. With the OPI color paints, I swatch them all over the silver because the silver gives a very different effect to the sheer jelly polish. The white really doesn't. It just makes it look like a milky version of the same color. So I'm not going to swatch everything over the white for this one. It doesn't really change the dynamic of the jelly that much. So here is one coat. This one is pretty streaky on the first coat. I've used this a couple times and I got it with 2 coats once, like really thick coats, and then 3 most of the other times. The formula is a bit thin and runny, so you do have to be really careful with this one. So there is one coat. So here is 2 coats. So that first nail covered completely in 2 coats, but like I said, I've worn this a couple times and I've gotten a mix of 2 and 3 coaters. I'm trying to do thick coats to make this one opaque in 2, but like on my middle finger there, I would probably do a third. I definitely don't think you need to have this white polish. I don't think this white is that good. So I definitely don't think you need this white polish. There are a lot better whites out there, and the polishes are going to perform over white the same no matter which brand you use. I don't know if you can tell, but it's like almost like a bluey gray white. It has a slight bluey gray tone to it. It's not quite a stark white. So there is 2 coats of White Page. So starting in with the actual jelly polishes, this first one is called Love Sheen. This is a hot pink. This does have a slightly comparable color in the color paints. This is Pen and Pink. You can see it's a little bit darker. The other thing about these Essie ones is they are all considerably more sheer than the OPI color paints. 3 coats of these and my nail line will still show. So I'm going to go ahead and do maybe 2 coats on camera and then always do my third off camera, but I will show 3. So here is one coat. So if you watched my review on the OPI color paints, you can see that these are considerably more sheer right off the bat, and they don't build up quite as well as the color paints do either. Formula is good though, smooth, easy to apply, a little bit thin. So there is one coat. So here is 2 coats. This one builds up pretty well on 2 coats. I think it might actually cover my nail line completely on 3. Not a lot of the polishes in this collection will do that. This one has a little bit more of a creamy look to it. It's not a full jelly like a lot of them. Realistically though, you're not going to be wearing these on their own. They're really meant for nail art and drawing over a base. So there is 2 coats, and I'm going to go ahead and do my third coat off camera. So one downside I did notice to these is they seem to take forever to dry, which like I said, you're not really going to be wearing them on their own. They're not really meant to be worn on their own, so I don't know if we could really consider it a negative, because most of the time you're going to be using thinner layers for nail art and will probably dry faster. So there is 3 coats of Love Sheen. The next polish is Highest Bidder, and this is the darker pinky red. The comparable color from the color paints would be Magenta Muse, but it is a little bit lighter. However, this Essie one goes on sheer, so they kind of match in the end. So here's one coat. Again, these are jelly polishes, so they are a bit sheer. You could use these for jelly sandwiches, I guess, but you'd almost need a couple coats for it to really make a difference. Formula is like the other ones. They're fairly easy to apply, but a little bit thin. So there is one coat. So here is 2 coats. So this one builds up pretty well on the second coat. You can still see my nail line through it though. Again, the more you build these up, the longer they take to dry. They really just don't dry well. So there is 2 coats, and I'm going to go ahead and do my third coat off camera. Though barely, my nail line is still a little bit visible after 3 coats. But that is 3 coats of Highest Bidder. So the next polish is called Art Nouveau, and this is in Orange Jelly. This has a color paints comparison in Chromatic Orange. Chromatic Orange is a little bit darker, and again, the color paints do build up a little less sheer than the Essie ones. So here's one coat. So you can see this one is very sheer on the first coat. Same formula though. Easy to apply, but a little bit runny. Kind of wants to pool a little bit. So there is one coat. So here is two coats. So with two coats you get more of an actual orange color, but you can still see through it pretty well. And with the formula on these being a little bit runny and wanting to pool, it's a negative for most polishes, but I really don't think it should be a negative for these ones because like I said before, you're really never going to wear them on their own. So there is two coats, and I'm going to go ahead and do my third off camera. So you can still see my nail line a little bit. This one didn't build up to completely opaque, but none of these really do. This is three coats of Art Nouveau. The next polish is Pen and Inky, and this is the kind of turquoise color. This is similar to Turquoise Aesthetic from the color paints. Turquoise Aesthetic, however, stained very badly, but it is a little bit darker and builds up better. So here's one coat. This one is actually one of the better covering ones on the first coat. Same formula though, wants to pool and run a little bit. So there is one coat. So here's two coats. This one darkens a little bit on two, but you can still see the nail line. This is as close to green as you're going to get from this collection. The OPI color paints do have a green, but this one does not. So there is two coats, and I'm going to go ahead and do my third off camera. So this one did stain my nails a little bit when I did my swatch pictures, but not nearly as much as its OPI counterpart did. So there is three coats of Pen and Inky. The next polish is Muse Myself, and this is the yellow. Primarily yellow is similar from the color paints, but it's a little bit more of a true yellow, where the Essie one is kind of a golden yellow. So here is one coat. So this one is very sheer on the first coat and just looks super, super gross. Same formula as the rest of them. So there is one coat. So here is two coats. This one builds up okay, but it's never going to be opaque on its own. The yellow from the color paints never get opaque on its own either. I like this collection. I think they're good. However, I do think that the OPI color paints are more versatile because a lot of the ones in that collection can be built up unworn on their own or worn over the silver for a really cool effect. Whereas most of these ones are just really sheer on their own and don't really look that special over the white. So there is two coats. I am going to go ahead and do my third coat off camera. This looks super gross. So not much of a difference here between 2 and 3 coats, but there is 3 coats of Muse Myself. The next color is Blush Stroke, and this is kind of a pinky red. It doesn't really have a comparable color in the color paints. Maybe Magenta Muse. Maybe I compared Highest Bidder to Magenta Muse inaccurately, but there's a lot of pinky ones in here. So it looks red in the bottle, but it's not really red once you get it on the nail. So here's one coat. This one is pretty sheer on the first coat. I think overall this just ends up being a little bit darker, less creamy version of, what was that one? Love Sheen. Same formula, typical jelly, little bit runny, but still fairly easy to apply. So there is one coat. So here is 2 coats. This one deepens a little bit on 2 coats, but I can still see the nail line. So there is 2 coats, and I'm going to go ahead and do my third coat off camera. So 3 coats almost completely covers the nail line, but not quite. It's still there, and it's definitely there in direct sunlight. I find it interesting that neither the Silk Watercolor collection or the Color Paints collection really had a true red. But there is 3 coats of Blush Stroke. The next polish is No Shrinking Violet, and this is the purple of the collection. It is comparable to Purple Perspective from OPI, but Purple Perspective is darker and does build up on its own. So here's one coat. So for a darker color, this is very sheer on the first coat. Like, I know these are super, super sheer, but I wasn't expecting it to be this sheer. Formula is the same. So there is one coat. So here is 2 coats. This does build up pretty well on the second coat, considering how sheer the first one was, but you can still see my nail line pretty well. Again, I don't want to diss these by saying that because you really aren't going to be wearing them on their own. They're meant for nail art. So there is 2 coats, and I'm going to go ahead and do my third coat off camera. So you can see that even with 3 coats, this is a much lighter purple than the OPI, where the OPI is very, very dark and almost looks black when it's built up on its own. So there is 3 coats of No Shrinking Violet. And the last polish is called Point of Blue. This has a comparable color in the OPI color paints. This is Indigo Motif. However, Indigo Motif does build up very, very dark, almost black, and builds up on its own. So here's one coat. This one, like the purple, is very sheer on its own on the first coat. Same formula. So there is one coat. So here's two coats. So this one actually doesn't build up as much as I thought it would on the second coat. My nails and my skin around them is so done for today. I've done a ton of swatches and videos and it is done. So there is two coats, and I'm gonna go ahead and do my third coat off camera. So you can see that this one is on almost purpley blue. So there is 3 coats of Point of Blue. So I think my favorite is Love Sheen, and this is a lighter baby pink. It's more sheer than the OPI color paints. What I like about this is it's a little bit less saturated of a pink than the comparable one from the color paints, which is, what is this? Pen and Pink. Pen and Pink leans a little bit more red, is a little less of a light kind of pastel pink, where this one is more delicate, I guess, and yeah. I really like this one. So those are the Essie Silk watercolor polishes. I did find these on eBay. Again, I just searched Essie Silk watercolor. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.